Thank you all for joining us today for our Introduction to Amazon Quicksight session. My colleague John and I will be hosting today. We are both data and analytics consultants with Thorogood, and we both happen to be based out of our Philadelphia office. We both have extensive experience working across cloud platforms, building out data solutions and reporting products for our clients. And I've put our contact information up on the screen, and that's intentional. Please do reach out with any questions or comments. Agenda for the session, we'll quickly introduce Thorogood, and then we'll move right into Quicksight. I have a few overview slides, and then I'll hand it over to John for a product demo and our thoughts on next steps. But we will start with a quick introduction to Thorogood. So who are we and what do we do? Big picture, we help our clients make sense of their data. We are an independent professional services consulting firm specializing in data and analytics solutions with a particular focus on data engineering, data science, and data visualization. We operate as a single organization serving our customers globally, often working in leveraged teams across our offices in Boston, Philadelphia, London, Bangalore, Singapore, and Sao Paulo. We provide a full range of services to support business goals. This includes, but is not limited to, application design and development, planning and business modeling, strategies and roadmaps, the full range of data and analytics services, training and adoption, and maintenance and support. We partner with a wide array of technology firms in the business intelligence and analytics market, including back-end, front-end, and analytics-driven technologies. We are independent, and we find this independence is really helpful to approach projects and clients with a holistic view of the space. We can really understand our customers regardless of their current data landscape and identify the best possible solution based upon their specific needs. As this is an AWS and Amazon related webcast, I do want to call out our AWS partnership. We have experience building out solutions within the AWS suite, and you'll find a range of AWS related content on our website. And this is where Quicksight, of course, falls in here. All right, so enough about us. We'll pivot over to Amazon Quicksight at this point. And I do want to start with a general overview. So just a quick definition. Amazon Quicksight is a fully managed cloud-based business intelligence service within the AWS product suite. So let's unpack that a little bit. It does exist within the AWS suite and business intelligence. So we're talking data visualization. We're really surfacing business insights and information and sharing those insights and that information. A key point here is that Amazon Quicksight is a fully managed cloud-based service, and this is really key. So everything is in the cloud, everything is accessed through your browser, and we don't need to provision any resources, and your infrastructure team doesn't need to set anything up. All of that is handled by AWS. So really with Quicksight, we can connect to our data. We can prepare and enhance that data with calculated fields or analytics. We can then create visualizations that will allow us to start identifying trends. And ultimately, we have the ability to share these trends with analysts, with end users, with business stakeholders, and others. So how does Quicksight fit into an overall data architecture? Well, perhaps unsurprisingly, it fits most seamlessly with an AWS architecture. So I'm going to take a minute to kind of build out an example of what that might look like. We'll start with data, and this could be coming from any number of sources. We'll then generally set up our data lake using Amazon S3. Within that data lake, we'll have different layers as we process our data. So raw, input, output, or sometimes referred to as bronze, silver, gold. There are a number of AWS tools that we can use to ingest data into our data lake. So AWS DMS, Amazon Kinesis, and AWS Data Pipeline, to name a few. Then we can use a tool like Glue to move our data into a semantic layer, which would be hosted in either Amazon RDS, Amazon Redshift, or something similar. Once we have that semantic layer, we can start incorporating any number of ML or AI services, so SageMaker or kind of any number of the AI services that are repackaged within the AWS suite. And then Amazon Quicksight is our final reporting layer. This can be connected to our semantic layer or directly to our data lake in S3. This is what a sample architecture might look like, but let's focus back in on Quicksight itself. So what are some of the key features here? Quicksight has a really fast in-memory processing engine. It's referred to as SPICE. We'll dive into this more in just a minute. Quicksight has built-in data connectors for AWS components, but also some common sources, so SQL, Spark, Snowflake, Salesforce, and others. Quicksight, again, perhaps unsurprisingly, integrates very nicely with AWS services. So not only those built-in data connectors, but also with IAM and billing. You can access Quicksight through your AWS console. So everything is kind of consolidated into one space and everything's nicely integrated. As we mentioned, Quicksight is fully cloud-based, so there's no tool to download onto your local desktop. This is really pushing kind of that move towards browser-based development, like a Databricks type tool. Quicksight operates under a pay-as-you-go option for pricing, as do a few other Amazon and AWS services. Quicksight is serverless, which allows for quick startup and quick scale up, which ultimately saves on IT and infrastructure on that effort and time to get things going. So there's a pretty quick spin up with Quicksight. Quicksight is also very scalable, so we can scale without having to provision more servers. Quicksight does that automatically to meet user demand. And then final point here, they've embedded, or I should say, they've made embedding your visuals into web apps or sites really easy, and ultimately they're really encouraging wider usage of this feature and of the insights that we're surfacing using Quicksight. All right, so I want to dive a little bit deeper into SPICE. SPICE stands for Super Fast Parallel In-Memory Calculation Engine. So a nice little acronym there. SPICE allows you to set up data sets, or essentially it allows you to set up data sets in SPICE which connect to your AWS or data source components. So let's kind of build this out. Basically, you import that data into SPICE and you can edit that connection, so create refreshes on schedule or on demand. And this is where Quicksight is going to access the data from. It's going to access it from SPICE. And SPICE is the processing engine behind advanced calculations to serve data. So the engine that will run common BI operations, your joins, your pivots, your drill downs, your filters. SPICE will also automatically scale to meet demand. So for example, if you have multiple users accessing or performing calculations at the same time, your capacity will scale up. And then once there's less of a demand, it'll scale back down. SPICE supports data sets up to 250 million rows and 500 gigabytes. For anything larger than that, you would use direct query. I want to touch on the licensing and cost models for Quicksight. Just quickly, we'll kind of review the different options here. Really, there are two types of users, and they're priced slightly differently, which makes sense as they have different capabilities. The first being authors. So authors are the people who are developing your dashboards, who are creating dashboards, sharing reports, creating calculations, building out those visuals, connecting to data. That's kind of your first set of users. We then have readers, and these are simply report consumers. So they really just consume completed dashboards. There are two options here. There's user-based licensing, or costs, I should say. So it's more of a pay-as-you-go model. So essentially, every time a user accesses a report, they're paying for that session. The other option here is capacity. So you could buy a number of sessions across multiple. So kind of two options there. Another kind of cost associated with Quicksight would be for alerts or more advanced anomaly detection, some of those ML-powered features. The price is generally based on metrics evaluated. It does scale, so it's cheaper the more that you use. And then SPICE has some additional costs associated with it depending on your usage. There is 10 gigabytes allocated with every author license, but additional usage will incur some additional costs there. Another feature, Amazon Quicksight with Q. So just to back up real quick, Q provides extra capability to dashboards, mainly through natural language processing and AI insights. So with Q, you're getting a little more of that out-of-the-box AI capability. To enable this feature, it does require an extra fee either at the user or account level. So if that's something that you are interested in incorporating into your dashboards and reports, it will require a little bit additional cost. I haven't put any numbers or exact costs on the screen for really a few reasons. The first being costs are subject to change, but the second reason, costs and licensing will look different for different organizations depending on your size, your AWS usage, your existing billing model through Amazon, and so on. So this web address will have the latest pricing, but I would also suggest contacting us or your Amazon representative to find the best option for your organization. All right, at this point, I'm going to hand it over to John for a product demo.
Before I walk through that, just want to set the stage here. I'll be playing a business analyst working with a CPG company where I've been hired to help create a high-level sales dashboard so that their executives can make better decisions based on their collected sales data. Customer has already shared through some inspiration sessions that there should be a mixture of KPIs and trends to allow the user to get a full picture of the current sales and how the past few months have gone. Company is currently reporting using spreadsheets, but has recently made the move to AWS Stack, and they would like to upgrade their reporting to improve the sharing, interactivity, management of the reports. This is part of the reason they've reached out to us for help, is that they don't have the required skill set in-house to be upgrading those reports and developing in Quicksight. Data I'm sharing, or that I'm starting with, is just a set of CSV files that get refreshed monthly. I have some fact files, some supporting dimension files, some granularity information at the monthly level, and it contains fact data like gross sales value, net invoice value, overheads, those types of things. As Emily has explained, Quicksight is AWS's own data viz tool, so that's why I've decided to use it. Quicksight can pull data from a variety of sources, but one of the connectors that seems to be unique with Quicksight is a connector to S3. As you may know, S3 is a standard storage resource used in data lakes built on AWS, and since that is the anticipated platform going forward, I figured it makes sense for the reporting solution to be built off of data that sits in S3. So I've already started building out the analysis, but still need to add a few more visuals. So I'm going to walk through that. Alrighty. So first thing I do is log into AWS's management console. So you should look familiar to you if you've been using AWS before. And I'll just quickly share that we do have an S3 bucket set up already that has our CSV files in it. Here's our sales fact data and then some supporting dimensional data there as well. So to get into Quicksight, all you do is you can type in the search bar there, click for Quicksight, and a screen like this will show up. You have to make sure you have permissions and a Quicksight account. So there is some additional licensing and stuff separate from just general AWS, but you set up your account and you'll get a view like this. On the left-hand side, we can see our menu bar with favorites, recents, dashboards, all the way through to community. The three main ones to focus on are dashboards, analyses, and data sets. You actually want to use them, I think, in the reverse order, so from the bottom up. So you create your data set, build your analysis on top of that, and then go and share your dashboards. We'll start with data sets. Click in here, you can see all the different data sets that are available to you. So if your organization building out different data sets, there might be more in here for you. One thing to note when connecting to S3 data, Quicksight currently requires you to set up individual data sets for each file before you can then combine them together. So I've done that and then created this single data set that combines the different files, and you can see that you can select the different join conditions and join types that you would like to do with the different data. Another thing to point out on the data set side of things are that you can see all the different fields. You can do some additional transformations, those types of things, while setting up the data set to either include fields. You can exclude fields that you don't want to bring through. So almost like hiding them from the analysis. You can also apply any filters that you would like early on in the data set that you don't want brought through to the final data set that's used in the analysis. Once you have this done, you'll be able to save and publish your data set so that others can use it. Then if we go back to our home page, the next step is to go into the analysis. So this is where you'll see all the different analyses that you've done and you have access to. These analyses are built off of data sets, and this is basically where you're querying the data, building out your visualizations, doing that ad hoc look before really getting to that final dashboard form. Started an analysis currently called Company Sales Dashboard, and just need to add in 2 more visuals. So I'm going to do that now. The first one that we want to add is an additional KPI here at the top. So we have total profit and loss and total gross sales value. Another one that we want to add is total overheads, just so we can get a quick look at them. How we're going to do that is click on one of these already existing KPIs, come in, we're going to duplicate the visual, see that it creates it down there at the bottom. It's going to drag that up, resize it so it can fit. And now we have 2 of the same visual. We don't want 2 of the same visual. We want to double click there. We can rename this to overhead. So that's total overheads. And then the next point is to bring in the correct field. So we want sales overheads. You can either add it in to the field wells up here at the top, or you can come in here and just hover over until it says replace. You'll notice that the formatting of this will need to get updated. So you come into the field wells, select your field, change this to a currency because you know it's money. That helps take care of some of the different formatting. Then we can see set the symbols if you need to change that. You can set this to be in millions of pounds, and we realize that none of the other ones have decimal places, so let's just get rid of those. So that was a pretty easy way to just add in an additional KPI. Next up, we'll review our visuals we have so far. So we have a nice profit waterfall chart that just shows the changes over the month. We then have a net invoice value compared with the gross sales value. Let's see how that trends over the past year. And we do have this sales overhead chart down here broken out by channel, just so we can see which channels have the highest sales overheads. One additional thing that the business mentioned wanting was a breakdown of gross sales value by customer. So we're going to bring in a new visual here. I have something in mind that I think will work. So we up here top left, add visual, brings in the visual, and we're just going to drag in our customer description field. And this automatically starts thinking about what kind of visual you would want with the data that you're providing it. So this is the count of records by customer description. We don't just want the count of the records, we want the gross sales value by customer. So we can add this in, and we'll see that it adds in gross sales value broken out by a customer, which is nice. But I think it might actually even be better to add in an additional dimension just to include some more information in this visual. So I've added in category description, which is either hair care or skin care. And that legend kind of just automatically pops up. You can filter that later if you'd like. So I personally don't like how that breaks it out into 2 separate bars. So I'm just going to change the visual type in the bottom left corner here. And now I have the stacked bars, make it a little bit easier to compare total values. To help with the comparison even more, you can go in and change the sort of the customer field by the gross sales value. You can set this however you would like, but I like it to be descending so you can see deals as the highest one, and then if you scroll down, you can see Planto as the lowest sales there. Another part of the visual is then to format it and make it a bit more useful. So one of the things that I want to get rid of is if we look at the axis here, there is a data zoom. If we remove that, it's going to remove that scroll bar on the visual, minimizes some of these just to help it be a little bit easier to see everything. But it also brings up the point that there is a huge difference between some of these top ones and some of these bottom customers here. So I actually think it would be useful for the end user to be able to specify how many of these they actually want to see. So to do that, we're going to add a parameter. This parameter, go over on the left side of the screen, create a new parameter. Top customers, make it an integer, and I'll just set a default value for now. After you create that, this screen will pop up because it knows that you probably want your parameter to help use something, either a filter, a control, a calculated field, anything like that. But you can also get to it a different way by going in to stay selected on your visual, go to the filter, and you can add a new filter for customer description. We have customer description. Expand this out, we can see it's only impacting this single visual, which is good. That's all we want right now. We then can shift it to a top and bottom filter. So this will allow us to select the top however many number of customers we'd like to see. And we can add in a parameter. So this screen will pop up when you add in a parameter for a filter, and it's basically just saying, do you want this to filter everything, or do you just want it to filter the single item? We only want it to filter this one item. So we're going to select no there, pick our parameter, say what the value is that we want to do the top by, which is gross sales value, because that's what we have here on our axis, and then apply. Once we hit apply, this is taking that parameter that we have, which default value is 5, and brings that into the visual. Now you might be wondering, okay, this is great, but where do I change that value? Does the user need to go into here and update the parameter like each time they want to see a different number? You don't actually have to. You can add this into your sheet, give it a display name. You can specify whatever type of parameter control you want. I'm just going to keep it as a text field. We add that in. We can see it come in to the top of our controls here. But since this is just impacting that one visual, I think it makes more sense to move it to the sheet and to drag it over to be next to that visual that it's impacting. So this way, the users can come in, they look, they can see top customers right next to this. And then as they shift this and change that value, type in something different, hit enter, visual updates automatically, and it doesn't impact any of the other visuals that we have. Now, of course, if this was going out to a client or you're sharing this with your team, you'd probably want to update some of the names and things in here, which you can do through this settings, the gear icon. You can change all the settings, but for the interest of time, I won't be doing that right now. The next part of any dashboard or any analysis is then sharing it. So you want to obviously save it. You can save it as something new. It does automatically save as you go through. You can export it if you want to just print out or download what the current analysis looks like, or most common is going to be sharing this. So you can either share the analysis itself and give other users access to these different like menu items and the ability to change visuals, add visuals, etc. Or you can publish the dashboard. So when you publish it, you're basically taking the analysis as is and publishing that up. So we can Quicksight. Yes. So we'll publish this, give it a name that's informative, tells us what we're looking for. And when you publish it, it's going to bring up this view here. This is the view that your end users are going to see. So we can see all our different controls here at the top. If you click on them, you can shift and change the year, you can change the channel category, etc. And you can see how that changes the data. If you look in it, you can see the different items that we have in our, or different visuals we have in our dashboard. And this is really where your end users are going to be spending their time. From here, there's a few different options. So the users can obviously, if you grant them access and share this with them using the share dashboard functionality, you can then add in and grant people permission to view this. Now, if you have to load back, other options, you can email this report, you can share a specific view, say you have a custom set of filters added, and you want to share a view, you can do that. You can also export, either print the dashboard or download it as a PDF. If you do download it as a PDF, it'll look something like this, or it's basically just a screenshot almost of your visual. And then at the bottom, it will list out what your different filters were for that particular item. Dashboards are available, obviously, when you share it and through the link, but if you're on your home page, you go into dashboards, you can see all the different ones that you have access to, and you can just click right there to bring up that same view that we were looking at here. So that concludes kind of the demo. The next steps would be getting feedback from end users in the business just to see if this is meeting their needs, if there's any other questions that are left unanswered. And just give a kind of final summary of Quicksight with some benefits and potential drawbacks that we've seen so far. Some of the benefits, AWS native tool. AWS is a leader in the cloud computing space. So obviously being a part of their network certainly has benefits that you can leverage other AWS resources and things like that. Their pricing model, as Emily touched on, is more of a pay-as-you-go model, which could make sense for your business if you have different levels of people that are going to need different levels of access. Instead of granting everyone just full access and paying for a license for everyone, you can split it between like author and readers. It is fully browser-based, so it's quick to get started. It's all through the AWS console. There's no kind of local desktop version that you'd have to be generating. It also helps, since there is no local versions, there's not going to be local versions of analyses, data sets, dashboards, or anything like that that you need to worry about sharing. Later on, it's all captured within your Quicksight environment. Given that it's AWS, there is continuous tool improvement, like you've seen with many of their other products. They're always looking to upgrade and make different bug fixes and increase the features that we see. And finally, scalability. Being on Quicksight, you can leverage the scalability. Or being on Amazon, you can leverage the scalability of AWS by using Quicksight. Some potential drawbacks that we see right now, there are fewer native connectors to non-AWS components. So it makes a multi-cloud environment maybe a little bit tougher, although AWS is a market leader. So you can certainly build whatever you need using AWS components. There are good workarounds that exist if you're using other providers' components, and there's continuous improvement. So in the future, I would anticipate that there'll be more connectors added. The other drawback that we see is just the maturity of the tool. So since it is a bit newer than some of the other data viz tools available, there's just some less community content. There's not a marketplace of third-party visuals that you can download, and there are just fewer experts out there in Quicksight. So if you're searching around on the internet for examples of things that you're trying to do, it just might be a bit harder to find, but that's just right now. Over time, as Quicksight gets adopted and implemented in more places, I'm sure that will quickly build out. There's also Quicksight trainings available, and in general, the data visualization skill set is fairly transferable across all the different tools. So that's just a quick summary there of Quicksight, and I'll just wrap up with kind of where are the next steps now that you've watched this. How can Thorogood help you get started in your journey with Quicksight? So here's just a few things that you could do. One of them is to sample the functionality of Quicksight for yourself. There is a free trial offered through the AWS console, so if you have access in there, you can navigate to Quicksight and ask for a free trial. That'll just let you get in there, get your hands dirty, play around with it. You can also feel free to reach out to myself. Contact info is there. For Emily, I shared her contact info earlier. Anyone at Thorogood, you can find us at our website, thorogood.com, and we can explore feasibility and use cases for using Quicksight within your organization, based on where you're at, based on what you're trying to accomplish, and just see if it's the right tool for you, and if it is, then how that can kind of progress into proof of concepts or demos to show the value of the use case. We're happy to sit and chat with you about that. You can also reach out if you're interested in a more hands-on Quicksight workshop. Thank you on behalf of myself and Emily for joining us today for this Intro to Quicksight webcast. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much.